Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are close reading Uprising for the fourth time. As we do so, we're going to look at essential question number 1, how do readers know what to believe? Number 4, what is literary text really about? And number 5, how does interaction with text provoke thinking and response? As we close read, we'll be reading 3 times. First for what the text says, second for how the text says it, and third for why the text matters. As we read through for the first time for what the text says, you'll be reading to create a summary of the text. So read the text for what the text is about and create an objective summary of each paragraph of the text. As we read for creating an objective summary of the text, we are looking at learning target number 5 to create an objective summary of the text. As you do so, please make sure you're only including the facts. Do not give any personal opinions or personal opinionated adjectives throughout your piece. Make sure it's word for word in your words and not quoted directly from the text. Don't use any text or quotes at all, and make sure it's centered around the conflict and the plot and all of the plot elements as you focus on what's important to include in your summary. After you do that, we're going to read through the text for a second time for how the text says it. As you read through the text that second time, you're going to be reading through the text for how does the setting impact the characters in the passage. As you're doing that, I want you to cite text evidence to support your response. Please begin your response with the following. And then give some adjectives to describe that setting. Causes, and then you can pick a specific character, or I went with all 3 girls, and I included evidence for all 3 girls in mine, but it's your choice. You can do a specific girl or all 3 girls. Causes, pick a character to feel, and then give a specific feeling. When we talk about the settings impact or effect on character, we want to look how the setting emotionally affects the characters. And then after you pick that feeling, make sure you finish that sentence off with the reason why the character feels that way. After you do that, follow with cited evidence. As you complete this phase of the reading, we are looking at learning target number 6 to analyze how particular elements interact. In this case, we're looking at how the setting emotionally affects the characters in the text. As you create your claim, you're going to be making a claim, which is your opening statement to your paragraph that addresses the task of the question. You're going to make a claim in the form of an inference, conclusion, or generalization drawn from textual evidence. Remember, that means sort of creating an educated guess based on what you notice in the text evidence to support you. After you make that claim, you're going to support yourself with cited text evidence using a direct quote, word for word from the text, and make sure you follow your cited text evidence with your full sentence analysis, where you're connecting the details from that evidence to the claim and explaining what you notice both implicitly and explicitly in that evidence that helps to support the claim that you came up with to answer and address this task of the second phase. We're going to then read through a third time for why the text matters. As you read through this text for one final time, you're going to read through it addressing how does the plot structure create a certain mood in the passage. I want you to make sure you cite text evidence to support your response. As you read through for this one, you're going to begin with and then I want you to pick a specific aspect of the plot. Maybe pick like conflict, the rising action, or the climax, and then give some adjectives to describe that particular feature of the plot for what you notice about it as it's shown in this section or even in the passage as a whole. And then you're going to continue that statement into it creates and what mood is created for that part of the plot or because of that part of the plot. How does that plot element and how does the way that plot element is in this particular section create a specific mood? Again, this isn't how setting details create a mood. This is plot elements. So look at the conflict as you read this section. Look at how the rising action is described in this section. Look at how, and this is sort of approaching the climax of our piece. So look at how the climax is getting more heightened and the conflict is getting more heightened in this section, and how the details that show those plot elements do in fact create a mood. What type of mood is created through the plot in this section? And then make sure you follow it with cited text evidence. As we read through for this final time of our close read, you're going to be reading through for learning target number 6 to analyze how particular elements of a story interact. In this case, how the plot elements actually can impact the mood of the piece. Remember, plot elements are setting, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. And in this case, we're looking more at the conflict, the rising action, approaching the climax from the excerpt that I've given to you. Remember, mood is the feeling a reader gets while they are reading the piece. So it's the emotional feeling the reader, the audience gets from reading those particular elements of the plot within this section. Also, make sure that as you are doing this, you're creating a claim to address how the plot affects the mood of the piece. So you're going to be looking at learning target 2 to make a claim in the form of an inference, conclusion, and generalization drawn from the text. Once you create your claim, you're going to cite text evidence to support your response. Learning target number 1, to support that claim that you've made. Make sure it's quoted word for word directly from the text. After you do that, you're going to provide your full sentence analysis, looking both implicitly and explicitly at your cited evidence, determining how you see that claim represented in that evidence that you've given. Go ahead and get working on today's close read.